Any thoughts on this board here? Do you have any shares in redraft of Holiday, Carter, or Langford?
Well, Caminero is the guy that I love. I love Junior Caminero, and he's going to be up sooner than later. Evan Carter, I'm not a bigger fan of. I prefer Langford to Carter, and that's a debate that's going on out there in the prospect community. It does feel like Holiday and Langford are going to be the two guys at the top battling it out. But again, you never know with these things. Rookie of the year is always difficult, and this year, the rookie class. I've been saying this on my shows for a couple of weeks now. It feels like an all elite rookie class. I mean, we're talking about guys like Churio on the National League, guys like, Imanaga, Lee, and Yamamoto coming in from, from across the pond there. And now you've got, not to mention the Max Myers, who once upon a time was a top prospect, DL Hall, Paul Skeens, who's throwing 100 miles an hour on every pitch. It reminds me of that 86 rookie class that had Bo Jackson and Will Clark and Bobby Bonilla and Barry Bonds. And you can go on and on and on about how good that rookie class was. I think Palmeiro was in that class too. So it's an incredible grouping. And I feel like this is a very special year. So be careful with this one, because I do think this is going to be whoever gets hot at the second half and kind of wins out. But I think putting some shares on the Holidays, Langfords, a deeper share on a Caminero, Yamamoto is always a good wager too. But don't sleep on some of these deeper names here. I know Parker Meadows is a guy that the Welsh is very in on, my co-host, but even a guy like Skeens or Imanaga, if Jung-Hoo Lee wins the batting title, I think Lee could be certainly in that conversation too. So it is a great year for rookies. And I think it's, great that now we're seeing them earlier in the year too.
Oh, absolutely. Young-Ho Lee, man, I was looking at some of his ratios. Like, the guy has like a 5% strikeout rate.
All he does is make contact all over the place. And he's going to hit the top of the order. He's going to score 100 runs. Like, it's just
exactly. And, they bring in Jorge Soler and they bring in Matt Chapman. There's some decent bats behind him, so if he can get on base there. NL Cy Young, Spencer Strider up at the top, plus 450. Wheeler at 8-1. Logan Webb, I think a better real life pitcher than a fantasy guy, is going to give you about 200 innings or so, plus 950 there. Yamamoto again, 10-1. Gallon at 12-1. Freed in there at 13-1. These are from DraftKings, by the way. Glass now 14. Steele 20. Any long shots here? Chris Sale 35-1. Just don't think he'll have the innings. Peralta 30-1. Kind of seems interesting to me.
Peralta's an interesting one. Again, they feel pretty comfortable with him being the front of that rotation. So that should tell you that you should be comfortable with him as a fantasy guy. It does feel like Spencer Strider's to lose. Strider is a guy right now that, that strikeout rate is just so high. It's hard not to like him for this award, and I get it. And if you're looking for fun parlays, this is not a crazy idea, but I put this together yesterday, and it's someone that I like a lot, which is Spencer Strider to win the Cy Young, which again, we've already said here on the show, that's not an insane thing, right? You agree? That's a very reasonable thing, right? Okay, so reasonable. Spencer Strider to win the Cy Young, Julio Rodriguez to win the American League MVP, which also does not sound like a big long shot to me. He's at 10-1 in most places. And then Shohei Ohtani to win the National League MVP at plus 950. I know just as a hitter, but still, Ohtani Mania is going to sweep Los Angeles. And if they do win 110 games or whatever it is, everyone's going to talk about Ohtani, and Ohtani's going to be the reason. So you're getting plus 63,000 on that. Ooh. So you put $50 on that, you're winning $31,000.
Oh, now, baby.
Now, Meaney, you tell me, does that sound like long shots to you? Julio, Ohtani, and Strider?
None of them do. No, none of them do. That's really, really nice. I wondered about Ohtani because it's only because they have Freeman and Betts, but Ohtani is set up to be even better than what he was with the Halos. Let's be honest. Like, no lineup protection now over the past couple of years, really, especially when Trout left last year. No stress of pitching
this year too. So you wonder what can he do with a full year of just being an offensive player at this stage in his major league career. He could hit 50, 60 home runs. Like, that's not an absurd thing, especially with the lineup protection that he's got around him. So I'm just thinking again, and you can play around with it. If you don't, you can put any Dodger. Again, you keep putting $10 on any of these, you're going to hit one of them.
It's a good call. I mean, you got Ronald Acuna here at 5-1, Mookie Betts at 650. Ohtani, you mentioned some spots at plus 950. Fernando Tatis Jr., Bryce Harper, Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson. Freeman at 12-1. I heard Freeman talking after one of the first spring games with Ohtani, and he stole. I think he stole second, and then he had a talk with Freeman after. It's like, did that bother you or anything? He's like, dude, I want you to steal 100 bags, because if it means you're getting to second base and I'm driving you in, right? And it's we're cashing in some runs. So you steal, don't worry about me. You got the green light to go whenever you want. So it should be really fun. I know that they've taken on the villain role, but it should be really fun to watch that squad play offensively. And by the way, Strider last year, this time was 10-1 to lead the bigs and strikeouts. He's plus 140. So it just goes to show that Vegas is buying into what he can bring to the table as well. I like the Julio call. 10-1. Unbelievable second half from him there. I think Judge is just a sucker bet. You hear the he's got to deal with the toe. I mean, they're one Judge injury away from being just another mediocre squad. Last year was pretty brutal for them. Of course, Soto with the squad at 6-1, Alvarez at 8-1, Julio 10-1, Adley Rutschman 13, Corey Seager 10, Bobby Witt Jr., Mike Trout at 20, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at 22-1. It's not a lot here I like on this list. I feel like it's just kind of top heavy, and I think you got the best value there in Julio.
Well, Julio was the MVP last year if it wasn't for Ohtani. If the Angels had traded Ohtani at the deadline like they should have done, and you think about the second half of last year, it was Julio Rodriguez who just was on fire in August and September and drug that team into the playoffs. So I'm looking at this and saying, if this guy could ever just have a normal, not even a good, just a normal average start to a season, we're talking about a 40-40 potential player. We're talking about a player. I mean, he tends to get off to these slow starts, which is always a problem for him. But if you also think about MVP is usually tied to teams that do very well. And I look at the depth and the quality of that rotation, and it's hard not to think the Mariners are a playoff team, let alone a team that could push for 100 wins if everyone stays healthy. They're one big lineup protection bat away at the deadline from also really pushing their chips all in. And for me, I just think Julio Rodriguez is that perfect guy that just kind of slates in there. I'm with you. I think Judge is a sucker bet. I think that there's no reason to chase that. I know people are chasing Soto, but Julio still right now, 10-1, a guy that I would go very much in on. The rest of this grouping, Bobby Witt is intriguing, but the Royals would have to really play well. And I think that's asking a lot of the pitching staff that they have. So for me, I think Julio Rodriguez is not only the great value on the board, but he should be the favorite, but he's not.
Yeah, the Halos should have traded Ohtani and said they were buyers at the deadline, and then they just let go of everyone. They bought Lucas Giolito, and then they just released him and all these other guys as well. What an organization! This one may be tough to read. There's a lot of names on this one. I know we talked about NL. Is there anybody here in AL? Like, I don't think Gossman's a good bet. Burns, I don't think. Like Luis Castillo, again, should we just give more love to the Seattle squad at 10-1? This guy's an innings eater. You love the ballpark that he's in. Grayson Rodriguez at 20-1. Of course, Cole's number there is no good for you. I wouldn't touch that one. Ryan,
no, I think we passed on the Cole number there. I will be very interested in the George Kirby number though, because the Kirby number you're getting
13-1
plus 1,000, 13-1. That's a great number there for a guy. Once again, Seattle. We're talking about a team that's going to be really good in Seattle, and I think that they took that step forward last year. Again, they're one big bat away. Somebody else in the middle of that order, along with Julio. Mitch Garver's not that guy. He's a good contributor. Cal Raleigh's a good contributor. You need one other bat in that lineup, and that will present itself at some point. But I got to tell you, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a Pete Alonso with the Mets or somebody like that. Like, could you imagine if that happens?
Oh my goodness.
What that would do for a Julio, right? But I'm just looking at this board again. Kirby at 12-1, 13-1 in some other spots. Like, that is really intriguing to me. Castillo is interesting. You're still getting good numbers on him and Pablo Lopez, but I don't know. For me, I think that it's open season here. So maybe putting a couple shares on 2 or 3 guys makes sense and then reevaluating it a couple months in. But Kirby's the one to me that is the most intriguing of the theoretical long shots, because I don't think he's as much of a long shot as everybody else does. Kind of the same reasoning behind the Julio pick.
Yeah, Castillo at 10-1, Kirby at 13, Rodriguez at 20, and then I would say Eflin kind of stands out at 40-1 as well. If he can have a similar season, maybe a little bit more strikeouts and some innings for him, it could be all right. All right, Joe, I kept you way longer than I said I would, but I mean, I just can't stop talking to you. I just love you too much, buddy. I'll get you out of here on this World Series. Any predictions? I mean, Dodgers at 350, Braves at 450. Is there anything here that stands
it's crazy
out to you?
not
It doesn't have to be from a betting market, but something you like.
It's crazy not to put something on the Dodgers, right? Because of what it looks like. But it's not the only thing I would put out there. I think the Phillies are very intriguing. The Phillies and the Orioles and the Mariners, I think that's the sweet spot there for me. Those 3 teams. I am passing on the Yankees. I don't think the Braves rotation gives me the warm and fuzzies outside of Spencer Strider this year. It just doesn't. Not with the health and some of the, Charlie Morton looked like he was done last year. The Twins are another interesting team. Royce Lewis is another guy too that I would
Yeah,
circle
he's a
for
stud.
AL MVP. He is a terrific player. It's a matter of games played for him, but the Twins and Mariners specifically, you can to win the American League at the very least. Now, can they go ahead and win the whole thing? I don't know, but I think to win the American League, the Twins and Mariners are the most intriguing teams, and the Phillies on the National League side, I think, are very intriguing this year. They're a team that's like right there, and I think they're very confident in themselves. And there's another one too. Can they just get off to a good start for a change? If they
Yeah.
do, well, life becomes a lot easier for the Phillies, but they're this team that doesn't flip it on until July 1st. And that's been a problem sometimes, but it's great to get hot at the right time. However, I think that Seattle, Minnesota, the Phillies, that's a really interesting range of return on investment.
Yeah, the Phillies have been right there for the past 3 years, and Bryce Harper's healthy to start the season with them. So 15-1 for the Phillies, the O's at 12-1. Even I know it's tough to imagine a team going back to back, but the Rangers are absolutely loaded on offense at 14-1. Like the Twins call because of the division, right? I mean, you're not going to get a team here at 20-1, and the division is just so weak. At least that there's a really good chance for them to get to the playoffs. So 20-1 does make a lot of sense there. And Royce Lewis, by the way, is 50-1 over at Bet Rivers to win AL MVP. And I think that's a pretty interesting long shot. Joe, why don't you tee up the black book for the folks?
Yeah, go get your fantasy black book. Just did an update in March, and of course, just did an update on the cheat sheets today, so you can get those as well. But it's on Amazon right now. Incredible contributors. Eric Cross does the top 100 prospects with full breakdowns. Again, there's nobody better than Cross. The Welsh, myself, Kelly Kirby, Casey Bubba. It's a great group of fantasy minds in there, and it's out there on Amazon for you. You get it in the Amazon Prime in just 2 days, or you could just get the Kindle edition instantly.
Yes.
But again, get the updated cheat sheets as well, because I just did an RPV update. And of course, check out our YouTube channel over at FantasyPros MLB, because we've got a lot of baseball content going. We're crushing it there. We just did our Fantasy Fest and our live show leading off every single Monday through Friday with me and the Welsh talking baseball is going to be back before you know it. So baseball's here, baby. Let's go.